Maverick News presents The Rick Walker Show. Defrag your mind.
Good evening, Maverick family. Good evening, new viewers. Thanks for joining me here on the Maverick News Channel. I'm Rick Walker. A pleasure to be with you this evening. It was a bit of a challenge getting the show coordinated and fired up on all of the different social media platforms tonight. I don't know what the issue was, but on Rumble, it just wouldn't establish the links. So I kept trying and it just wasn't letting the live stream get set up kind of anywhere. But we're here now. So hopefully people still find us tonight. But I started setting the broadcast up a long time ago, earlier today, only to find multiple times that it just wasn't linked, wasn't set up the way it was supposed to be. But it is now, and I see that we are live across all of the major platforms that we broadcast to: Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Rumble. If you have not subscribed over on Rumble, please consider doing so. It would really help the channel a lot. We are growing over there. We have a couple of Rumble channels, and it's important because we keep running into problems, as do many others on these other social media platforms. We have more problems overnight because of the broadcast we did the other night, where we talked initially about the Prime Minister being under investigation by the RCMP, and then updated the story in real time as the RCMP issued a news statement saying the Prime Minister is not under investigation. But Facebook still hammered on us overnight, saying that the story was false. So we're penalized because of that now. I'll talk about that later in the broadcast. Most importantly, though, tonight, our lead story is that more escalation in Ukraine is imminent. That's what all the indications are. And there are serious warning signs in place suggesting things could go nuclear over there. And if they go nuclear over there, that means that they could go nuclear right here. And that kind of talk is coming directly from Senators Lindsey Graham and Blumenthal. So we'll talk about that tonight as well. What else do we have? Hunter Biden. Hunter has been hiding behind a veil of Titan, submersible, mainstream media news coverage and Titanic hysteria. A lot of speculation out there about whether that story has been used to distract, while Hunter Biden and new revelations about his involvement with foreign governments, and in particular China, came to light this week through the Ways and Means Committee. And today at the White House news conference, things got a little bit, what's the right word? Rocky. A little bit rocky. We'll show you that too. And a new freedom convoy. Do you think it can happen? Should it happen? Will it happen? Well, some people seem determined to make another convoy happen. We have some information for you tonight. So if you're a freedom fighter, if you're involved in the freedom movement, you're going to want to stick around. I have info for you. I have information. Indeed, I do. So stay with me. More to come right after this.
Greetings, brave Mavericks. Our quest for truth continues. We go beyond fake news. Together we expose propaganda. Together we pull others out of rabbit holes. We are maverick thinkers. We are all unique individuals, defenders of individual rights and freedoms, credible, trusted, grounded in reality. Maverick News, Maverick News. Defending free speech, free speech. Donate at freedomreporters.com. Do it now. Tomorrow may be too late. Maverick News. The world is watching.
Okay, folks, I'm back, and as I say, stick around. I have information on plans for a whole new freedom convoy, so that'll be coming up later in the broadcast. But first up tonight, there's this news conference that was held by U.S. Senators Lindsey Graham and who's a Republican, and Richard Blumenthal, Democrat. And they registered a draft bipartisan resolution in the Senate declaring Russia's use of nuclear weapons in Ukraine, or the bombing of the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant, as an attack on NATO, requiring the application of Article 5 of the alliance. What does that mean? This is serious. Serious because Article 5 means an attack on one is an attack on all NATO member countries. Ukraine is not officially a NATO member country. However, Zelensky just the other day referred to Ukraine as a de facto member of NATO, indicating that essentially membership in NATO at this point is just a formality, that Ukraine is in fact already basically a NATO country, just not on paper. It hasn't been formally ratified. Nevertheless, the issue at hand here is that Graham and Blumenthal, through their resolution, which they have in place, they are saying now that if the Russians use even tactical nuclear weapons on Ukrainian soil, that instantly means that Russia is now at war with NATO. Or if they attack that nuclear power plant, which is inside annexed Russian territory, that they would be going directly to war with NATO, all NATO countries. That means the United States. That means Canada. That means we are directly at war then at that point with Russia. Do you see how dangerous that is? That kind of talk. Well, that's exactly where we're at, folks. I've been saying from day one that this whole conflict is off the charts dangerous, that we are closer to an all-out nuclear war than we have ever been in history before. We have that news conference with Graham and Blumenthal. And let me just bring it up here. I'm sorry that a lot of people messaging saying, is there a show? Yes, there is. And I know that it wasn't, promoted because it literally didn't hook up until we went live. So there was no advanced notifications that went out tonight at all anywhere. And I do apologize for that. There was something that went wrong with the setup of the broadcast tonight. So I can't answer these messages coming in as we are live on the air. I hear everything dinging, all the notifications of messages coming in, but I'm sorry, folks, I just can't respond because I'm trying to run the show and think while I talk without getting myself into any trouble. Here's the news conference directly from C-SPAN with Blumenthal and Graham. Let's pick this up and hear what they have to say about this.
We're not trying to sanction each other. We're trying to work together on one of the most important issues.
Listen carefully to what they say.
Affecting America's national security, world stability. And as the grievance campaign up here in Washington seems to be unending, Senator Blumenthal and myself have not taken our eyes off a defining moment, and that's the war in Ukraine. So we're introducing a resolution today, since the Senate resolution that says that if Russia or Belarus or a proxy of Russia explodes a nuclear device inside of Ukraine to stop the counteroffensive or to try to break the will of the Ukrainian people, such an attack should be considered an attack on NATO itself. We're of the belief that a nuclear weapon unleashed in Ukraine would irradiate large portions of Europe where we have NATO allies. And why are we doing this? President Biden says threat of Putin using tactical nuclear weapons is real. That's like the 20th story down. So with a sense of urgency, we're urging our colleagues here to get serious about what could happen in Ukraine. Moving the tactical nuclear weapons out of Russia to Belarus was unnerving and I think very provocative. The counteroffensive is moving slowly, but steadily. They're looking for a break. They will commit the forces that have been trained by the West, 6 or 8 regiments, thousands of well-trained, well-equipped forces will be put into the battle when they can exploit an opportunity. So the Ukrainians are patient. Russia has fortified their defensive positions. They've mined the whole country. They've been committing war crimes on steroids, very abusive war being waged by Putin. But we're here to talk about something nobody else seems to want to talk about. I applaud President Biden for putting on the table that the threat of Putin using a nuclear weapon in Ukraine is real. And our message is to those around Putin that if you do this, if you follow his order, if he ever gives it, you can expect a massive response from NATO and you will be at war with NATO. I can't believe that NATO nations would allow their countries
Can you
to be
believe he said
irradiated
that?
by a nuclear attack emanating in Ukraine, not to consider that attack on the neighboring country and NATO writ large. So as we go into the 4th of July holiday, people are going to do things at home. They're going to meet with their constituents. They're going to travel. Senator Blumenthal and I want to put everybody in this body and this Congress on notice that the threat of a use of a nuclear device by Russia is real. And the best way to deter it is to give them clarity, the Russians, as to what happens if they do that. They will be in a war with NATO.
Thank you.
Holy smokes.
First, let me express my thanks to Senator Graham for his leadership, which has been constant, steadfast, courageous. And this effort has been bipartisan. The reason that we got our legislation or resolution through urging that Russia be declared a state sponsor of terrorism passed unanimously by the United States Senate is because we have been so bipartisan on our legislative efforts, on our trips to Ukraine, where we have seen firsthand the courage and determination of the Ukrainian people. And now on the battlefield, we are seeing it again. The progress has been slow, but steady. If that progress continues, as likely it will, Putin could be tempted to use a tactical nuclear weapon, or just as likely, try to destroy the main nuclear power plant. Both actions would have dire consequences for the health of Ukraine, but also surrounding NATO nations. Poland is at immediate risk if the use of tactical nuclear weapons or destruction of a nuclear power plant causes radiation to spread, as almost certainly it would, causing significant human harm. This is not a kind of reckless or panicky resolution. It's based on fact and science, and it is meant to send a message to Vladimir Putin and even more directly to his military. They will be destroyed. They will be eviscerated if they use tactical nuclear weapons, or if they destroy a nuclear plant in a way that threatens surrounding NATO nations. Article 5 is there for a reason. It doesn't protect only against a specific soldier crossing a boundary, but harm to our NATO allies triggers our obligation when it comes from a hostile force, as would happen if there were radiation that spread, causing significant harm to human life. And this message ought to be taken seriously by Vladimir Putin's generals. His military risks total obliteration by NATO forces if they are so reckless and irrational as to resort to tactical nuclear weapons that endanger the world.
Now I'll just add, we'll take questions. Nobody really thought he was going to go into Ukraine.
Right.
We were worried about it. We all authored pre-invasion sanctions that were not adopted. To think that Putin wouldn't do this is really irrational given what he has done. I mean, he's committed industrial level war crimes, thinking he will eventually get away with it. His goal now is to wear the West out, slow down the counteroffensive, get people in Washington and other capitals of the world to just break, and offer him some face-saving, life-saving deal. The Ukrainians are in it to win it. They're not interested in having to give up their land by force of arms to the American people. If he gets away with this, Putin, there goes Taiwan. But I was stationed in Europe during the Cold War. We always were worried about a break in the Fulda Gap where Russia would just send, hundreds of thousands of troops to try to destabilize Europe. Ronald Reagan put in tactical nuclear weapons instead of trying to match them man for man and tank for tank, to let them know what the consequences of an invasion of Europe would look like. It was deterrence. It worked. We have a chance now to deter. If you want to avoid a war between Russia and NATO, you need to jump on board with what we're trying to do. We're trying to send a clear signal, unequivocal signal, that if you go down the road of exploding a nuclear weapon in Ukraine to try to turn the tide of battle, that would be an attack on NATO. If you blow up a nuclear power plant to create chaos, that could be considered an attack on NATO. This is a conversation worth having. Let's have it now. If you want to deter war, you have to send clear signals, the cost of action. And we have been very unclear to Putin, but now we need to be really clear. Thanks.
Wow.
I talked to Jake Sullivan. They're treating the threat real. I mean, this is a statement from the President of the United States. I have my differences with President Biden, but I think he's right. I can't believe it hadn't made more news.
Yeah.
I mean, Biden says threat of Putin using tactical nuclear weapon is real. He is right. So Jake Sullivan, they're considering their options. They will do what they need to do. And what we're trying to do is tell them, the administration and Stoltenberg, you need to be clear publicly or through back channels that we basically have your back. We're trying to tell the president that Democrat and Republican, we think this is a widely held view in the Senate, that we would have your back to to make sure that Putin does not use a nuke. You know, I've been around for a while. I've never seen a greater threat to the use of nuclear weapons than I do now, maybe since the Cuban Missile Crisis.
Yeah, no kidding.
Would you support a year-end spending deal that would raise non-defense discretionary spending in?
No kidding. That we're closer to a nuclear war than ever.
Again today.
Thanks for pointing that out. But whose fault is that? Well,
Yeah, I mean, the DHS budget is being cut. Okay, fentanyl is pouring in at record levels. Now's not the time to cut DHS budget. Yeah, there'll be a conversation between senators, among senators, and hopefully the House to increase our spending to deter China. Reducing the size of the Navy, U.S. Navy, doesn't deter China. But we'll get to that. But what I want to focus on like a laser is that President Biden said to the world that he thought the use of a tactical nuclear weapon by Putin in Ukraine to turn things around, turn a war around he's losing, is real.
well, how convenient for you, Leslie Lindsay.
And we're trying to create a situation to have your back.
Senator Blumenthal, on the
Flows right into your narrative now.
TikTok responded to you yesterday, seeming to admit that they're storing U.S. user data, some U.S. user data on servers in China. Wondering what your response to their reply to you is, and whether you believe that the TikTok CEO lied under oath when saying that that wasn't the case.
I think that the truthfulness of the CEO, TikTok CEO, ought to be examined very carefully. I'm not about to make an open and shut accusation of perjury. I've tried.
So we're getting into other areas here. So I'm gonna just pull away for a moment and comment, because think about what this really means. Listen to what they really said. They said, if Russia uses a tactical nuke on Ukrainian territory, if that nuclear power plant is attacked, damaged, if there's any kind of nuclear incident because of that, if there's any kind of nuclear contamination, radioactive contamination that can spread beyond Ukraine's borders through the, being carried by the wind, any kind of nuclear incident, Russia will be held accountable, and they will consider Russia to then be at war with all of the NATO countries. That is basically World War III right there, folks. Gone kinetic. We're in World War III now. A different kind of warfare. This is not just a regular, everyday, old, I hate to even characterize it that way as though it's something normalized, but yeah, this is not your regular proxy war. This is World War III, make no mistake. And if we get this kind of escalation, it will go kinetic, and that means a shooting war. That means NATO forces straight up against Russia. The United States, Russia at war. Not just NATO, the United States and Russia would be at war. Formally shooting at each other. Remember, months ago, I said they'll soon be coming for our sons and daughters. Well, we're just a hair away from that, aren't we? With this kind of rhetoric. He's up there. He's doing Joe Biden's dirty work for him. That's what Graham is doing, and that's what Blumenthal is doing. They are doing Joe Biden's dirty work. Biden sends out the trial balloon. I'll call it a trial balloon. That's what often happens in politics. A politician makes a statement. He says that the threat of Russia possibly using a tactical nuke is real. It was a statement made to donors in California during a speech that was not widely broadcast. But the statement came out, it was published. That trial balloon circulated in mainstream media and internationally. on a limited scale. There was almost no pushback. It was like the world was sleeping while he said it. That gave these guys license to go in and submit their resolution and come back and now hold this news conference and put the U.S. on a direct war footing with Russia, ready to pull the trigger. And we know how close we are to seeing the use of tactical nukes. And tonight we are closer than ever. Why? Well, that's because the counteroffensive that was launched by Ukraine is clearly not going as well as they are letting on. And two, on the Russian side, we're seeing new volatility because the leader of the Wagner mercenary group, he's being accused of mutiny tonight. You may recall that a while back, Yevgeny Prigozhin went head to head with the head of the defense ministry, saying that they were not receiving the support and weapons that they had requested and had been promised in order to get the job done over there in Ukraine. The Wagner group, right? They're basically a paid mercenary group fighting for Russia. Well, now the war of words has escalated, and Prigozhin is actually back on social media criticizing the defense ministry again. And as a result, Russia is accusing him of calling for an armed mutiny. Now, I'm not sure exactly what all of this means. There's some politics playing out here. I don't even pretend to understand the nuance of Russian politics when it comes to something like this. This is, I think, also uncharted territory and unexpected, honestly. Unprecedented, even, I would say. But Prigozhin has accused the Russian military leadership of killing 2,000 of his fighters. So there's something weird going on over there with him. This is creating more instability. And if Russia is backed into a corner where they feel that there is a true existential threat, meaning an actual threat to the existence of Russia, that is the incentive that would be needed to initiate for Russia a nuclear response, perhaps a limited tactical nuclear response within Ukraine. So now you have this extremely volatile, increasingly unstable situation over in Ukraine, and Blumenthal and Graham adding to that instability with their rhetoric, which, with no doubt, the backing and blessing of Joe Biden and his regime. There's no mistake. Make no mistake. This is not the kind of thing that Graham and Blumenthal would come out and say on their own unless Biden was supporting it. But this way, Biden doesn't have to be the bad guy standing there at the podium. He doesn't have to take it on the chin. He doesn't have to risk his political capital heading into this challenge from RFK Jr. in particular and Marianne Williamson for the nomination for the DNC to run as president against the Republican nominee in the 2024 presidential election. So he doesn't risk anything himself that way. And it also prevents him or allows him to avoid additional critique internationally. So Blumenthal and Graham do the dirty work. They send out this message. They get this resolution passed, and they are playing with all of our lives. Make no mistake, this is The words alone are an escalation, and we are so close to a massive escalation that could easily go nuclear. I can't tell you how close we are. It's right in front of us. And yet when I look around, when I go to the store, when I walk past people on the street, no one seems to be worried about this. Everyone has become complacent, accustomed to just living with this nuclear threat as though it could never happen. Two schools of thought here. Some people think that a limited nuclear exchange could take place without a full-blown nuclear war. Others think that as soon as you see the use of even a tactical nuclear weapon, then Russia launches everything, bam. The United States then launches everything, bam. Mutually assured destruction. The world literally goes mad, and it's a true, not a cliche, but a true apocalypse. The end of our way of life forever. The end of life for millions. Tens of millions, likely. Hundreds of millions, really. You know, the survivors, who knows what life would really be like. This is a very real thing. And these guys, these politicians, they are no smarter than the average person. And yet, I look at those two guys standing at the podium, and they are so full of themselves, grossly overconfident, cocky, conceited, arrogant, reckless. Literally playing with nuclear fire. Dial it back, guys. They need to dial it back. They're ramping it up using the old cliche, peace through strength. So they're rattling the sabers, taking it straight to Putin. This is happening because the counteroffensive in Ukraine is not going well. So they're positioning everything now so that they can ramp it up and become directly involved in the conflict. And it won't matter who actually is responsible for any kind of nuclear incident over there. It would be blamed on Russia. And as soon as it is, everything ramps up. And when that happens, it will happen very quickly. I'm sure of it. And can we trust anything these guys say? The Nord Stream pipeline sabotage? Oh yeah, Russia blew up its own pipeline. I don't think so. Makes no sense. The dam that was also partially destroyed, causing the flooding. Did it make any sense for Russia to do that? It didn't make any sense to me. But you can believe what you want and take them at their word. But I think that's extremely dangerous. Here's the Wagner commander. Let's bring this up. Here's a clip from him. This is what I was talking about. Let's hear what he has to say.
This is part of Prigozhin's video, which was posted on Telegram.
Для чего была нужна война?
Why was the war needed?
Война нужна была для того, чтобы
The war was needed so that a handful of scumbags could have a blast and get PR attention showing how strong the army is.
она была нужна ради
The war was needed not in order to return Russian citizens to our bosom. and not in order to demilitarize and denazify Ukraine.
Психически больной.
It was needed for one star with additional embroidery, so that one mentally sick man could look good on a coffin pillow.
Шойгу
Shoigu lives by the principle that a lie must be horrific for people to believe it. That's when the lies come.
Prigozhin's referring to Russia's defense minister, Sergei Shoigu, a constant target of his criticism. He's often accused Shoigu and other military leaders of incompetence, but rejecting the core reasons for the war is new for Prigozhin. He says Shoigu's deceiving President Putin and that the war was also used to enrich the ruling elite. Prigozhin also specifically uses the word war in the video, not the phrase special military operation.
So, you know what the problem with a mercenary is? They kill people for money. That's the biggest problem with a mercenary. And that guy is the head of a mercenary group. So you know what they love most of all? Money. So when he speaks like that, I take it all with a grain of salt too. Because it was just yesterday he was singing a different tune. And months ago he was singing a different tune. And now he's changed his whole story and he's kind of, what is that all about? I have to wonder who's paying him now. And what will this mean to all those Wagner troops? This is creating more instability. And with that kind of instability over there, what we're hearing from Graham and Blumenthal makes me very, very nervous. We are in a very, very dangerous situation here. Because if Russia loses the support of those Wagner fighters, they have to replace that. I can't speak with any great knowledge as to what this means tactically, strategically, or even politically if those Wagner troops are turned. But I can say that it is very clear that if those troops, those Wagner troops, switch sides because somebody offered them a whole lot more money, then the whole dynamic of the struggle in Ukraine changes. And that backs Russia into a corner very quickly, doesn't it? Because these areas that are being held by Wagner troops may be in jeopardy. Ground would be lost. Maybe a lot of assets over there could be at risk on the Russian side. And that alone might make Putin feel that there is an existential threat to his country. And we have seen that Biden has acknowledged that while they initially went in there telling us all that this was being done for humanitarian reasons, the reality is he's acknowledged that the United States is really looking for regime change in Russia, using this war as, or this conflict or special, whatever you want to call it, but they see this as a conduit into Russia to affect regime change. And at a minimum, using this conflict to wear down and erode Russia's military strength over time. Biden has made that clear. So this is not about preserving democracy. It's not about freedom. It's not about elections. It's not about Ukrainian sovereignty per se. There's this other agenda that Biden has spoken about specifically, which is that he doesn't want Putin to remain in power. So you take that guy, that mercenary who is a hired gun, a killer for hire, a guy who kills people for money. offer them more cash. Flip. Mercenaries. That's my read on it. You know what's going to happen to that guy? At some point, somewhere, somehow, sometime, he's got no friends because he's not loyal. That's what I'm seeing. Not wise. Not wise. Yeah. That's me looking at it from afar, maybe just surface level. But it seems pretty obvious to me that that's the kind of thing that must be going on. I'm sure there's a lot more to it. But anyway you slice it, tonight, we are on the cusp, on the edge of a full-blown third world kinetic war. Not exaggerating. Embrace your families tonight, folks. And if you believe in that higher power, now would be the time to pray.
Maverick News. The world is watching.
The New World Order. Government overreach. The Great Reset. Mainstream media lies. Now more than ever, independent voices are needed. Donate now at freedomreporters.com. That's freedomreporters.com. Maverick News. The antivirus program for your mind.
So all this talk about the Titan sub continues. Talk about an investigation that will be led by the U.S. Coast Guard. A lot of quarterbacking and 2020 hindsight criticism coming from people while they sit on their sofas after the fact, I guess. I don't know. A lot of talk around it. I understand why there's so much public interest in it, and whether this was intentional or not, it certainly did dominate the news cycle while Hunter Biden was dealing with escalating problems of his own, and new information coming out from the Ways and Means Committee. Embarrassing stuff. Very embarrassing stuff for Joe Biden. So there's some people are saying that because the U.S., I think it was the military, had detected what was probably the sound of the Titan submersible imploding on Sunday, but did not report that until days later. There being, there are accusations out there flowing that it was all an intentional decision to take the spotlight off Hunter Biden and put it on that story so that Joe Biden wouldn't suffer politically. Whether intentional, whether that was the plan, whether it was micromanaged to that level, I can't say. I don't know that Biden is smart enough to do that, but that is the effect that the Titan submersible story had anyway. Nevertheless, now the focus is shifting just a little bit. Still a lot of attention on that submersible story, but now people beginning to go, oh, wait a minute, look at what that's going on over there with Hunter Biden again. And the media today, during the news conference at the White House, focused on just that issue. Let's go there now and pick up this little exchange with the press secretary. Here we go. And then there's also an exchange with Admiral Kirby, which is pretty jarring, actually. So we'll grab that for you in a moment too. But let's go into this news conference now with President Biden's press secretary.
The president invited his son Hunter to the state dinner last night. I'm wondering if you could take us into the thinking and decision making of why the president decided to invite.
I'm just not going to get into family discussion, personal family discussion. As you know, Hunter is his son. I'm just not going to get into it.
Let me ask you this: if Hunter Biden wasn't the president's son, would he have invited someone who had just reached a plea agreement with federal prosecutors?
Well, a couple of things. Again, that's his son. He's a family member. It is not uncommon for family members to attend events at the White House. You could look at past presidents. I'm sure you have. So that is not uncommon. As it relates to anything related to Hunter, I'm just not going to respond to it from here.
Can I follow up on that?
No, I just called in somebody. Go ahead.
Yeah, so Kirby wouldn't answer James's question, though. Are you going to answer the question? I mean, not a reasonable question to ask whether the President of the United States was involved, as this message seems to suggest, in some sort of a coercive conversation for business dealings by his son. Is that something, if he wasn't, then maybe you should tell us.
So here's the thing, and I appreciate the question. I believe my colleague at the White House Counsel has answered this question already, has dealt with this, has made it very clear. I just don't have anything to share outside of what my colleagues have shared. And so I would refer you to him and the DOJ. Just not going to comment from here.
Text message.
What I can tell you is I know that my colleague has dealt with this. He addressed this at the White House Counsel. I just don't have anything else to share. I just answered the question. I just answered the question.
Yes or no, was the president involved in the shakedown?
Stephen, I just answered the question. It's not up to you how I answer the question. I just answered the question by telling you my colleagues at the White House Counsel has dealt with this, and I would refer you to them. Go ahead.
Can you just remind us what your colleague said from the White House Counsel so we have it?
I would refer you to them and they will share their statement with all of you.
Your statements from that podium. You've stated that the president stands by his comment from the 2020 campaign that he never once discussed his son's overseas business dealings with his son. And you stood at that podium and you reaffirmed that. Do you stand by your reaffirmation?
What I will say is nothing has changed. Nothing has changed. And I will leave it there. Anything else, I will refer you to the White House Counsel.
This is not a change?
I just answered the question. You just asked me, does my statement change? I just told you nothing has changed. That's answering the question. Go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead, Stephen. I'm calling on your colleague right now. Go ahead.
Thank you. To follow up on my colleague, is there anything that you can say with regard to this text message and what the president's son was alleging? Was the president there or not?
I would refer you to my colleagues at the White House Counsel. They have addressed this, and I refer you to them. Go ahead.
Green, have you spoken to the president about this? Have you asked him whether he was there with his son on July 30th?
This is not a conversation that I've had with the president. Again, I would refer you to the White House counsel.
Do you plan to have that conversation with the president?
No,
Did the president speak with the attorney general at all
I
last
can't,
night?
I cannot say if the president had had a conversation with the attorney general last night. What I can refer you to is the White House counsel's office as it relates to the allegations. They've already addressed this. This is something for them to deal with. I refer you to the Department of Justice on anything else if you don't want to speak to the White House counsel's office.
And there was reporting earlier in the week that after the plea agreement was reached by Hunter Biden, that the president felt relieved that that part of it was behind him. Is that true? Can you
I
speak
can't
to his
speak to that. I cannot speak to the president's mindset. Again, I would refer you to the White House counsel's office. Get it.
Oh, yeah,
Bone on bone
Oh,
pain in
hang
the
on a
knee.
second here. I'll tell you, the mainstream media, at least holding her feet to the fire on this today. That went on for, wow, what was that? 3-4 minutes? 3 or 4 minutes. And Admiral Kirby also being held to account on this today. Let me just, I'll find it. Here we go. Okay. Let's bring up Kirby on this one. Media finally dialing in on this, man.
One more question on the Zaporizhia nuclear power plant. There's a little bit of confusion. I think President Zelensky.
Oh, hang on a second here. I think I've got the wrong.
Said yesterday that
clip.
Russia is plotting a terror attack on
But
the
let's
nuclear
listen to
power
this
plant.
too.
President Putin today is urging the International Atomic Energy Agency to ensure that Ukraine does not attack.
This ties
the
into
power
what I was
plant.
talking about earlier.
What is the administration's understanding on this? What's your assessment? And are there anything that you're doing in particular to that issue?
We're continuing to monitor it closely. We are able to monitor some radiation sensors that are around the plant, and thus far we've detected no elevated levels of radioactivity.
Do you have any sense of who's going to attack, if anyone is?
Look, I've seen those reports. I've seen those comments. I just don't have anything to confirm them or speak to the validity of them. The only other thing I'd say, and we've said this before too, is that I think we should all be able to agree that a nuclear power plant is not a great site for military operations one way or the other.
John, just on the issue of Russian oil, does the president come out of this meeting with Modi with the belief that India may actually reduce its purchases of Russian oil, and to what
Biden
extent?
and Modi met yesterday.
India has to make its own choices about oil purchases. And we hope that we can continue to see that they purchase Russian oil at or below the price cap as they have been.
And then just on NATO, the president's going to be leaving in a couple of weeks. Where do things stand in terms of, his effort to help Sweden become a member of NATO? Should we expect a call with Erdogan in the coming weeks?
There's conversations ongoing between the Swedish government and President Erdogan. We have been encouraging those conversations to continue. It's important for them to do that. And as the president has said, he's confident that the two nations will be able to come to an accord and will be able to welcome Sweden as the 32nd ally in NATO. I couldn't begin right now to give you like a time frame of what that's going to look like, when and under what circumstances. But the fact that they're still talking is a good thing. And again, the president remains optimistic.
Thanks, Kelly. John, in light of what's happening in the West Bank, many scholars believe that the two-state solution option.
Okay, so different subject matter. So let's just pull away from that, and we'll pick up Kirby here, where I believe this is now the correct area where he's asked about the whole Hunter Biden issue. So, Admiral Kirby.
The House Ways and Means Committee yesterday released documents, their authenticity nowhere challenged. That included a July 2017 WhatsApp message sent by Hunter Biden to Henry Zhao, a Chinese Communist Party official, which stated in its entirety, and I quote, "I am sitting here with my father, and we would like to understand why the commitment made has not been fulfilled. Tell the director that I would like to resolve this now before it gets out of hand, and now means tonight. And Z, if I get a call or text from anyone involved in this other than you, Zhang, or the chairman, I will make certain that between the man sitting next to me and every person he knows, and my ability to forever hold a grudge, that you will regret not following my direction. I am sitting here waiting for the call with my father, unquote. So just a couple of questions about this. First, does this not undermine the president's claim during the 2020 campaign and the reaffirmations of that claim by his two press secretaries since then, that he never once discussed his son's overseas business dealings with him?
No, and I'm not going to comment further on this.
We're good.
I'm not, James, let me save you some, let me save you some breath. If you're going to ask about this, I am not addressing, I know you do more than I'd like you to have. I am not going to address this issue from this podium. I'm just not going to do it.
All right.
I'm not going to do
Where
it.
was the president on the
Thank you.
And he walked
Thanks, guys.
away.
Have a great
Son was at
weekend.
the father's house.
Okay.
Wow.
Zeke, you want to kick us off?
Wow. He just not going to answer the question, walks away. And did you hear the contents of that messaging between Biden and that Communist Party official from China? He's indicating he's sitting right beside his dad, the president, not president at the time, the president now. Wow. What more do people need to see? What more do they need to hear? What more evidence do they require to understand what is really going on, what has gone on with their president? What more evidence do people need to open up their eyes and understand where the corruption is? How does someone like that get to be president of the United States? It boggles my mind. And if you look at it, this actually adds even more instability to the situation with Russia, even though it's directly linked to what's going on with China. But China and Russia have been pushed together because of Biden's actions. And yet you see this direct tie, and you see that there's been all this talk about the United States possibly even going to war with Russia over Taiwan. But I'm not so sure that that really has been the goal of Biden. I think we're kind of escalating to that point anyway. But it seems like it's almost like a game that has been played here, where the intention, in my mind, isn't really about going to war with China, that it's sort of like maybe creating a crisis and then having Biden rush in and say, oh, no, it's all, we've solved the problem so that he can be a hero, maybe. I don't know, but there's something wacky going on with the whole thing with China and Biden, because he clearly has, there's some sort of a link, a tie there, maybe even a commitment. So going to war with China, Biden going to war with China, makes no sense to me, unless in the end he declares war in order to sever his ties and cover his tracks. But you can clearly see from the emails, the laptop from hell that was suppressed during the last election, and the information coming out now, and then additional information through the Ways and Means Committee, that Hunter Biden was talking to his dad about his deals over in China. It's all provable. And yes, so many people just don't seem to care. This is like Watergate with Nixon, or what was the thing with Clinton, the Whitewater scandal? I mean, It's those things at a nuclear level, literally. And the guy still just has he still has his job. Now, we've talked about RFK Jr. and a path to the nomination. This might be it. This might be his ticket to the DNC nomination. Because if Biden can't survive this, and the deadline for nominations, or having someone else enter the race that would replace Biden and become the new figurehead or puppet for whoever is really pulling the strings behind the scenes, if they don't meet that deadline or whatever, if he's turfed, if he can't survive this, there's RFK waiting in the wings, really the only candidate with a lot of public support who would have any chance of running against Trump and winning. Would the DNC even want him? No, I don't think they do. Not the people really controlling the party, but there's another way that Biden falls flat on his face, leaving the door wide open for RFK Jr. to walk in and take that nomination. Either that, or his health fails, or his mental faculties fail, and he just can't continue, and he has to drop out of the race after deadlines pass, and there's RFK Jr. So that's how I see RFK Jr. finding the path to the presidency. If he gets that nomination, Trump's got a real battle on his hands, a really serious battle, because of the dovetailing of support, because RFK Jr. would pull a lot of that, even MAGA support over, I think, while still retaining the Democrat support and pulling you just see the scenario there. That becomes a real horse race. But the corruption is off the charts here, folks, and I just can't believe that the public hasn't been more vocal about it. People just don't seem to. The corruption has become normalized. People are desensitized to it, to the point where they, I think, expect it of the politicians that are elected. And so they just shrug their shoulders and go, oh, well, what do you expect? Well, I'll tell you what I expect. I expect better. Simple as that. Don't go away.
Maverick News. The world is watching.
Okay, what other news do we have for you this evening? Well, I guess I can tell you what I know about this planned freedom convoy, a new freedom convoy, a new convoy anyway. Yeah, I have information that I think you will be interested in hearing about. So, I don't have all the information. I'm certainly not an organizer or a planner, but people have called me, and they have informed me that A convoy is being organized. They claim that it will be bigger than the convoy, the Freedom Convoy that went to Ottawa in January of 2022. I don't know if that's possible, but that is their goal. They have been meeting, and you are probably seeing now some rumblings about this. Some of you have probably been hearing about it if you're in Canada. And there is a hashtag that is going around because this is the theme of this planned convoy. And the hashtag is hashtag save the children. So I know that they are using that hashtag to promote social media posts talking about what they are planning to do. What the exact objective is behind this, they are not yet saying. The people who have been talking to me about it have indicated that it is going to happen sometime this summer. They say an exact date has not yet been set. They do want people to know about it. They are spreading information about it now. And I am simply passing this information on because it is newsworthy in my estimation. So that is about all that I know. That is about all that they are revealing at this point. I know that you can, as you listen to some of the social media posts that will be coming out, I think you'll find that they are a little bit shadowy about what their exact objective is and what the exact focus will be. It seems like they have something a little bit different planned. And I'm not exactly sure where the destination is going to be. I believe Ottawa is the city that they are targeting with this. But I can't say beyond that because I really just don't know. But people have been sending me, little bits of information and sharing some of this with me. So I am sharing it with you tonight because I know that there is within the Maverick family and our audience in general, even internationally, a lot of interest in the freedom movement, such as it is right now, the state of it in Canada. It's a little bit different than it was. Well, it's a lot different, I think, right now than it was back in January of 2022. That was unprecedented what happened, very organic in my estimation, where a lot of Canadians, thousands and thousands of them, just came out because of their concerns about the government response to the pandemic at the time. That was the catalyst for the whole thing at that time. That's why they went to Ottawa. The objective at that time was to end the mandates. What the exact objective is this time around, well, not exactly clear, but we do know that that hashtag save the children is being used. So you know that the focus has got to be on issues directly related to freedom, freedom of choice, and kids. So all you have to do, I think, really is just look at the protests going on, and you can pretty much figure out exactly what those issues are. Will that be enough to spark another massive convoy like the one we saw back in January 2022? Don't know. Don't know what the plan is. I really don't. But I can share this with you. I think you will find that more videos like this will start springing up. I'll play this one for you, and it will give you an indication of the information that is flowing out there tonight. And again, I'm sharing this with you because I believe it is newsworthy.
Hey, everybody. Pound, save the children. East meets West, save the children convoy. Hey, if you want to be a part of something that's larger than Convoy 2022, remember when Convoy 2022, the Freedom Convoy, woke up the world, told everybody in the world that we're as mad as hell and we're not going to take it anymore? Well, guess what? There's going to be something coming larger, greater, and more to it than the Convoy 2022. And it's going to be Save the Children. Pound, Save the Children. We're going to talk about the East meets West Save the Children convoy. It's already in the works. It's already happening. We're going to be giving you the posters. The date is to be announced. And if you can't join in the convoy, we're going to ask you to lend a couple of dollars hands. I don't normally ask for money for donations. It's not for us. It's for the great people, the freedom fighters that are going to be the East meets West Save the Children convoy. Largest convoy yet with the most meaning, if you know what I'm talking about. More to come. Watch me live on Canadian Trucking Magazine Facebook.
Okay. So you'll see, I'm certain you're going to be seeing more videos like that from a variety of people across the country. You can assess it as you choose. I don't know how much traction they're getting at this point. It's hard to assess, but I am hearing, talk about it. That's basically the information that I have right there. And they'll be using that hashtag to earmark various social media posts as they begin to promote this. I do not know how government will respond to this. I do not know how police will respond to this. I do not know. Just don't know. Interesting development. I can tell you that we've seen a lot of attempts since January of 2022 to rekindle the what should I call it? To rekindle the momentum that we saw with the convoy at that time. That they're trying to recreate it, only do something a little different, as he says, this time around. What that something different is remains to be seen. But I will tell you that we do have contacts, and they will be updating us from time to time with information. And as that information becomes available, I will be sharing it with you here on the Maverick News channel. So whether you're in Canada, the United States, or somewhere else around the world, this is, I think, might be one of the ones to keep an eye on. It may fizzle out. It may turn into something substantial. Whatever it is, though, it appears to be just around the corner, probably weeks away. How many weeks? I don't know, because they have not yet announced a date. But once we have that information, again, I will be sharing it with you right here on the Maverick News channel. Don't go away. I'll return right after this.
We are Mavericks. We say no to the Trudeau and Biden New World Order. And to bugs. Because bugs are creepy and gross. And people should not eat bugs. Maverick News. The world is watching.
Hey, no! To bugs!
The New World Order. Government overreach. The Great Reset. Mainstream media lies. Now more than ever, independent voices are needed. Donate now at freedomreporters.com. That's freedomreporters.com. Maverick News, the antivirus program for your mind.
Coming back to this story about the head of the Wagner mercenary group, kind of switching sides, kind of. Mainstream media in the West, in the United States, in Canada, grabbing a hold of this story and running with it. Here's ABC News tonight. This is a new post from ABC. Wagner mercenary chief calls for armed rebellion against Russian military leadership. So they're saying here, the head of Russia's Wagner mercenary group appears to be threatening an armed rebellion against Russia's military leadership after accusing it of deliberately shelling his forces on Friday, today. Wagner's founder, Yevgeny Prigozhin, in an audio message Friday claimed his forces would now punish Russia's defense minister and chief of general staff, telling other units to stand down and not offer resistance. He says, quote, "There are 25,000 of us and we are coming to sort things out. Those who want to join us, it's time to finish with this mess," Prigozhin said. ABC continues here and says Prigozhin also accused Defense Minister Sergei Shoigu of cowardly fleeing from Rostov in southern Russia and ordering an attack on Wagner forces. Prigozhin published a shaky video Friday, which we showed you, that showed a shattered group of trees and a burning trench, claiming it was a Wagner camp. Maybe that's a different one. Shelled by Russian troops and alleging many Wagner troops were killed. Different video. Russia's defense ministry has already denounced the video, calling it an information provocation. A Kremlin spokesperson, again, this is ABC News. A Kremlin spokesperson said Russian President Vladimir Putin is aware of the video. Quote, "President Putin has been informed of all the events around Prigozhin. Necessary measures are being taken," the spokesperson for the Kremlin said. Russia's FSB has issued a statement accusing Prigozhin of calling for, quote, "the start of an armed civil conflict in Russia." The FSB called on Wagner fighters not to follow Prigozhin's orders and to assist in his arrest. So Prigozhin is denying that this is a military coup, instead calling it a, quote, "march for justice." And he goes on and says, "They neglect the lives of soldiers, they forget the word justice, and we will return it," Prigozhin said in his video. "Therefore, those who destroyed our guys today and tens of thousands of lives of Russian soldiers will be punished." This really is, I would say, unprecedented. And it raises a lot of questions for me. How did this happen? Why is this happening? This guy is, wow. He's on thin ice. All of this coming hours after Prigozhin launched this extraordinary verbal attack on Russia's military leadership. And we showed you that video where he basically said that he accused Putin and the military leadership of Russia of lying about the whole thing. Sounded very pro-Western. Suspiciously pro-Western. What would be the motivation behind that? What would motivate someone who operates a mercenary army, who kills people for money? What would motivate someone like that to do something like this? This is a very interesting turn of events. Also very concerning. And the timing also very convenient for someone like Lindsey Graham, Senator Blumenthal. We should all be very worried about this, I think, folks. Oh, yeah. 7:25. Who wants to go to the phones? Let's do it. I'll take a brief break. When we come back, you can call in and join the conversation. And the number to call will be 1-833-975-3733, 1-833-975-3733. It's a free call, toll free, and I will return with more right after this.
Maverick News. The world is watching. Greetings, brave Mavericks. Our quest for truth continues. We go beyond fake news. Together we expose propaganda. Together we pull others out of rabbit holes. We are maverick thinkers. We are all unique individuals. Defenders of individual rights and freedoms. Credible. Trusted. Grounded in reality. Maverick News. Maverick News. Defending free speech. Free speech. Donate at freedomreporters.com. Do it now. Tomorrow may be too late. Maverick News. The world is watching.
Okay, I'm back, and the phone lines are just coming up. Everything is getting kind of stabilized there. Strange that the system has just changed a little bit. It takes a little longer for it all to come online. Almost there, though. Just a reminder that you can support the show and help us cover the expenses here, including the cost of that phone system, by donating at freedomreporters.com. That takes you right to the PayPal donation page. You don't need a PayPal account to donate there, and we really do need your support. Could sure use your help, actually. And Maverick Donations is the other donation page. You can contribute there as well to help us continue our work as we make efforts to ramp up our coverage of the U.S. election and other events like the one we just talked about previously, and the daily news too. So no sponsorship, no monetization. We rely entirely on support from you guys in the Maverick family and the viewers at large around the world to help support what we're doing here. Greatly appreciate the support we've had, and I'm sure there will be more support in the future. And so thank you, truly thank you, because I am humbled by the support that we have received in the past, and I appreciate you guys sticking with us through all of this. Like, share, subscribe. Please consider subscribing over on Rumble. Make sure you share on Facebook as well. And I have to tell you, before we get into the calls tonight, I was disappointed to wake up this morning to find that Facebook was penalizing us because of the broadcast we had a couple of nights ago where we laid out the story where the RCMP had confirmed that they were investigating the prime minister in writing in a response to Democracy Watch regarding the SNC Lavalin affair. So they indicated that they are investigating and therefore could not release some information or much information about the SNC Lavalin affair because it was an ongoing investigation, confirming for the first time that there was actually an investigation that could potentially result in criminal charges. This was the fact. This was an actual piece of correspondence that we became aware of, and we reported on it in real time. It's a fact. Other mainstream media, independent media, it became widely reported within a matter of hours. We were not alone. National Post, CBC, CT, tons of outlets reported on this information. So that was one of the main stories of that night, and we reported on it. During the course of that broadcast, new information came out because the RCMP released a new statement, which we also became aware of during the broadcast. Probably about an hour and a half into the show that night, we became aware that the RCMP had issued this new statement saying that the investigation had actually, at that point, been closed, that no charges would be laid because after investigating, they determined they did not have enough evidence to proceed with a case. So the investigation, which was real and had been confirmed, had been closed. And so during the course of the broadcast, we acknowledged that, reported that in real time to update the story, to make it current, to make sure that we were clear and fair and balanced. But Facebook marked that broadcast as false information, penalized our Facebook channel or pages, and they're now suppressing that information so that people can't see it. And they've penalized our Facebook account as a result and issued a warning to me personally for sharing false information. And yet the same information has been widely reported across all media, including mainstream media, but they targeted us and hammered on us. And we've been warned that if we do this again, we could lose our Facebook pages. Clearly to me, what this says is that the fact checker or checkers who reviewed the content were not thorough. They failed to look at the entirety of the broadcast. They failed to look at the update, the revised information, the updated information provided in real time as the RCMP statement was made. And we provided that in real time on the broadcast to make sure we were thorough, ignored that completely, instead opting to just penalize us for the information we reported earlier, which at the time was 100% accurate. I stand by everything that we reported that night, every word of that broadcast. I said nothing wrong, nothing inaccurate. Everything was accurate at the time that it was reported, and I still stand by everything that we did. They're paying clearly some young kids or some inexperienced or people who are not thorough to be fact checkers who are not thorough. And there's no fighting with Facebook. They are the judge, jury, and executioner when it comes to this kind of, and I will call it censorship. And it's pretty clear that their motive here is not about truth. It's about protecting the government. It's about protecting the prime minister. Even though they're in a dispute of their own because they don't want to pay the mainstream legacy media for the content that they have been posting online, even though through Bill C-18 in Canada, they're trying to force the social media platforms like Facebook and Google to pay these larger media outlets, and as a result of that, they're actually penalizing and making it more difficult for independent media news outlets like this one to even survive. But Meta, Facebook, Zuckerberg, they've pushed back against the government, said we just don't want to pay for it, so we're just not going to run any news content on our platform anymore. So they're in the process of basically deplatforming all news content. I don't even know what that's going to look like, but that's the unintended consequence of Bill C-18 overall. People will end up with less news service. The mainstream legacy media will end up with no additional revenue and even and diminished ways to distribute their information. They'll have reduced exposure overall, and it's going to hurt the mainstream legacy media even more, making it even more difficult for them to survive in this new environment. And where will that leave us? I have no idea. But this is all stupidity on steroids, because it makes no sense. And it's just these social media platforms have gone ban happy. They're punch drunk on power. Oh, just ban that guy and ban this guy and ban those guys. Now we're even going to get rid of the mainstream legacy media. We don't need those guys. We don't need anybody. Well, you know what? Pretty soon you're not going to have anything left except cat, dog, and freedom fish videos, like Freedom Fred, the freedom fish. That's why I got Fred, because pretty soon that's the only kind of content that we'll be allowed to post on some of these social media platforms, because if you say anything, they're going to kick you in the teeth and censor you, deplatform you. What is the point? They're dumbing everybody down by suppressing information. And if there is bad information out there, if there is misinformation, disinformation, malinformation, or straight up false information, which was not the case here, then the solution to that is not censorship. It's more information. It's making a better argument, pushing more information out, better information, so that people can assess for themselves. And over time, the truth will win out. But you have to be patient. And the truth will never win out if they start suppressing information. That's the whole plan, though, isn't it? Anyway, extremely frustrating. Sorry, Facebook. You can do whatever you want to do, but I didn't lie. I wasn't inaccurate. I was 100% accurate in real time. And it's not our fault that the RCMP issued a revised statement halfway through the broadcast. Your fact checkers need to learn how to be thorough. They should spend a little bit of time studying journalism, media, and ethics before you unleash them on the world and your base of support, your creators, and arm them with the delete button. Moronic. Wow. I'm just, it's not just because it's happening to me, it's because it's happening to everybody. Even people that I think that they're probably on side with. They're banning they're banning their own woke, liberal, neoliberal, crazy people too. They're banning everybody. I just ban them. I don't want to, just get rid of all the news. It's just beyond ridiculous. Let's go to the phones. Oh my goodness. 2023. Will we ever get back to any kind of sanity? Let's go to the first call of the night. I think this is Sue. Hello, Sue. How are you tonight?
I'm good after that rant because I got banned on Facebook for sharing your thing.
Oh my goodness. The Trudeau thing?
Yeah.
Oh my God. Ridiculous.
Yeah, I got banned for 5 days.
I'm so sorry.
Well, don't worry about it. I think it's funny. Anyway, I called to ask you. Yeah. I live up near the Army base in Patton. Did you happen to hear about the Chinook that went down? The helicopter.
I did, yes.
there was 4 on, 2 survived. Did they ever find the other 2? I cannot get any information.
Well, let me just see if I have anything.
It's like
here.
it's hush-hush.
So what do we know? So it's an RCAAF, Royal Canadian Air Force.
Yeah. And it's the Chinook.
So 2
It's
pilots
the 2-bladed
were
one.
killed.
Yeah.
It was a CH-147F Chinook, crashed into the Ottawa River in Petawawa.
Yes.
We do have the names here. So
okay.
Captain David Damagala of Woodstock, Ontario, 32 years old, and Captain Marc LaRouche of Amos, Quebec, 53 years old.
And they haven't found the other 2 yet because there was 4 on it.
Yeah, so I know that, that's just all I know. The 2 other crew members aboard were treated for minor injuries and released from hospital.
Oh, okay. Okay, so they found them.
Yeah, so,
Okay.
I think those Chinooks, they're getting pretty old.
They're pretty big.
Yeah.
They fly over my house all the time.
So they're saying here that they will reconsider the flying status of the Chinook fleet if circumstances arrive that warrant a change. They're obviously investigating, and that's really about all that we know. We know that it went down Tuesday.
Yeah.
During
I
a
was awake
night
that night when it
training
went down.
exercise just after midnight.
Yeah. I was up. I watched it. I don't live too far from the base.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I just wondered. And those 2 clowns.
Yeah.
The senators. What the hell are those 2 old, I want to say it, but I'm not going to, bees, doing?
Escalating.
Are they that goddamn
provoking.
stupid?
They're provoking. That's what they're doing.
Frig.
Yeah, it's like a game of poker.
They're gonna lose if they keep it up.
We're all gonna lose if they keep it up.
Oh my God.
They're insane.
Unbelievable.
They are insane. Those 2 guys, they gotta go. All these warmongers, they gotta go. They are playing with all of our lives. This
Has
is
Trudeau
beyond
said
ridiculous.
anything about this either?
About what they said?
Yeah.
Not specifically, not that I've seen, but of course, he's just all in, right? Like he's just, let's send more money over to Ukraine. Ukraine has to win. Let's, he's all pro-war. Has been from the beginning, is today too. So he might as well sit there and say, let's push the button with those guys. It's crazy. These people are nuts.
Now, I have a question. I know that we don't have the draft in Canada. Can they bring that back into action?
Yes.
Oh, they can.
Yeah, they can. Government reserves that right, if call it a right. But yeah, they can always implement a draft if they deem it to be necessary. And then,
oh my God, I didn't know that.
And then we'll see what happens at that point. Of course, they're not doing that, and it would be a huge issue. But then you find out who really wants to support Ukraine, don't you? Yeah, who wants to go? Is it really that important? Who's willing to die for Ukraine?
Bring the draft in.
Who was willing to have their sons and daughters go and die?
Not
for
me.
Ukraine?
I have too many family members in the military, so no, I don't want anybody to die.
This is insane. And we're this close to direct conflict, a direct confrontation with actually going to war with Russia, Canada, the United States, all the NATO countries. Can you believe
I'm
this?
sorry, but I would stand with Russia.
Well, for crying out loud, yeah. I mean,
I'm sorry.
This is it is literally insane. There's no other word for it. Just insane. And no
Well,
need for this.
We know we have a lot of family in the States, and a lot of them are worried too.
Mm-hmm. Should be.
Like we have cousins down there that their kids are just shitting their bricks because they think they're going to get called.
I'm scared. I am absolutely scared. These people they're nuts. Graham's been over in Ukraine before. I mean, he was over there before the Russians came in. You know, he was over there ramping it all up, getting the weapons in place, the funding, the political foundation set for all this.
This has to stop.
Uh-huh.
Well, I heard something today that Africa is trying to draw up a peace agreement. Did you hear anything about that?
Yes, they did. They went to meet with Putin. These leaders of, I can't remember how many African countries, 6, 8, something like that. And
something like that, yeah.
Yeah, and they absolutely did sit down and have extensive talks aimed at peace, a peace settlement, bringing Ukraine and Russia
Trudeau
together.
and Biden and Zelensky aren't going to fall for that shit. They want an all-out war.
They do. And that's why Putin last week, I think it was, or earlier this week, pulled out that agreement, the peace deal that was a draft, and it was initialed by Ukraine. And then they walked away from it. And why did that happen? Well, I think you saw the United Kingdom and the United States both intervene and basically give the marching orders to Zelensky that no peace, even though they were right there. They were that close to having a peace deal. And Putin pulled out the documents and said, this is the deal. They even initialed it. And this whole thing could have ended right then. But nope. They wouldn't allow it. Do you remember when I think it was Boris Johnson went over there and they were talking about peace, and then he intervened, and then everything was stopped and the war continued. It's disgraceful.
Oh my God. Yeah. Okay, now I was just curious if you heard about the helicopter and if there is a draft, if they could call it, but I wasn't sure. I couldn't find any information on it.
Yeah. Basically, any government can do that if they're in power and they're a sovereign nation. Every country has provisions like that in place because they, of course, want to protect their sovereignty, right? So, they'll implement a draft if they feel that they don't have the personnel, the manpower needed to put boots on the ground and do whatever they feel they need to do. We shall see. Let's hope and pray that it doesn't come to that.
Yeah, let's hope. Yeah. Well, I just see a lot of stuff going on with the military up here, and it's not normal. Mm-hmm. What I call normal. The war training.
No doubt.
Just in case anybody knows.
Of course.
They are. That's what they're doing, the war training.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Bullshit. All right, Rick, I'll let you move on to the next caller.
Thank you, Sue. Always a pleasure to speak with you.
No problem. Try and have a good night.
Yeah, you too. Okay.
All right, thanks, Rick. Bye.
Hello. Who's this? Is this Leo?
You got the marvelous South a man without a plan to master all disasters, Rick.
How are you tonight, sir?
Pretty good. Can you hear me? Is there feedback?
No, everything's fine on my end.
Everything's fine on your end?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I was floored when you played the text message of Hunter Biden. Wow.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable.
To me, that should be enough to just, result in the ejection of Biden from the White House. That guy has no business being president of the United States. And that is enough evidence for me right there.
Wait a second, Rick. 82 million people disagree with you.
Yeah, right. That's okay.
Okay, he's had a hard-on. This plan for Ukraine's been in the makings before the election.
Oh, yes.
Okay? And now it's brought to fruition as we're seeing it.
You're right about that.
It's sickening. It is. It's sickening. I think this 4th of July next week in the United States is going to be different from all the 4th of July. The tipping point's crazy, man. I'm telling you. You can just feel it in the air.
Yeah. Yes, it's funny you should say that, because today I felt like everything, the air, even the air just feels different right now. Everything is just, there's a vibe in just, you go outside, just walk around. It's like, it's a beautiful day, but maybe it's just because I'm exposed to so much information online every day. And I feel this weight on me all the time.
Yeah, it's sickening. Change the topic. Wagner. Wow.
Also
you
weird.
look at all militaries. I don't care what army you're with. People join the army. Why? Not to save the country. They join it for monetary reasons.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, you have benefits, you got a pension, and you get paid, and you get free food, whatever, right? You get exercise, you get to see the world, join the Navy, whatever, right? So they're all mercenaries in my eyes. Now, the Wagner group, obviously, Pure Knight actually said something that was pretty intelligent, and that could have been an AI Wagner, for all we know.
You never know these days, do you? You never know, but I think it's authentic. When I looked at the video that we ran, I saw no telltale signs of it being artificially generated. It looked very real and authentic to me. As a video editing guy who's done that for a long time, I didn't see anything to indicate otherwise. But I'll tell you this, it's very unusual. But hey, man, when you're dealing with mercenaries, they're just hired guns. So I don't think that there's as much loyalty there as there needs to be when you arm 25,000 troops. You better make sure the guy's on your side. But right now, it doesn't look like he is. Who knows what's really been going on over there, though, man? I don't know. Very strange.
Yeah, you know what? I don't know what to make of it at all. I don't. It is very strange, and it's not going to end well, folks. Because Russia's not going to take it laying down.
No.
Now the Americans, oh no, you're blaming the Russians on damaging the dam there that cools off the nuclear power plant. Okay, now if there's a nuclear leak, do you think the Russians did that? I don't think so. I think the Russians had nothing to do with that, and they definitely had nothing to do with the Nord Stream pipeline.
Right. I agree with you.
Right, so this is just a way for the Americans to get in there now. If there's a nuclear leak, they have that signed decree now that says, oh, they're part of NATO, or you just went against NATO, and now all NATO nations are involved. I don't know, man. I don't know what to make of it. It don't look good. It don't look good in Canada either.
I'm
it
worried.
Don't look good for the British. It don't look.
I just don't want. We just need to end this stupid war.
It should never have happened. It would never have happened if Trump was in power.
You're right about that too. Not a chance.
Okay, you got a president with the fall of Afghanistan. We see how that went. Shit, that made the fall of Saigon look good.
Yep.
Okay, when you had people clinging to Air Force planes and tying themselves off to the wingspans, that made the fall of Saigon look pretty.
Yeah.
And this guy's still in power. Okay, now you got all the Biden stuff is true. Okay, and the ones to blame is the mainstream media, because they could have been holding his feet to the grill. Okay, and they could have been frying his ass. Same thing with Trudeau this whole time, but they've been lying. They've been holding back. Why?
I don't know, but today everything seemed to turn. The media in that, the daily press briefing with the press secretary at the White House, they were hammering on her, and that was coordinated, one after the other, all supporting each other, and they're going after Hunter Biden now. in that's serious. So there's something has shifted,
Well-
something has changed. They want Biden gone.
Well, this is it. Okay, now Biden was charged with a felony, misdemeanor or whatever. They got dropped down to a misdemeanor, but they were felonies. He had drugs and a gun. Okay, and he still has security to get into the White House. You're a goddamn felon. You're the last person on the line to get into the White House. You're never allowed in the White House if you're a felon.
Yeah.
Right. So, man, I never heard that. You played it tonight, and I was just floored when you did, and I was like, wow. And as for Facebook, you know what? I don't know about Facebook. You had FU Fridays going on for a while, and there's all kinds of F-bombs, and they never pulled any of that down.
Yeah. I see all kinds of other crazy stuff that's not accurate at all, outright lies, complete crap about things. They just leave it up, and then that stuff goes up. But you know what it is? It's about Trudeau, and it was really damaging, even just talking about it. So they were going through, and I could tell from the way that it was dealt with that they're going through and systematically targeting that specific story. Anybody that posted that, they're going through the motions of taking it down. Maybe with the exception of the mainstream legacy media, I'm not sure. Probably they'll leave those guys alone, but any independents, I think they're coming after it, because they had a whole thing laid out where they were directing people over to another page. They're leaving the content up but suppressing it. But if someone does find it, you click on it and it takes you to another page where they give all this information about what they think the truth is. I should have.
Well, here you go. The missing sub.
Yep.
The missing sub. Before the missing sub, okay, the day before they ran out of air or whatever, I put a post up that I just heard on CNN they found the sub. I haven't watched CNN in years. That was the joke, okay? And people were commenting, laughing the whole 9 yards, right? Because they know I don't watch CNN. But, you know, they play a lot of bullshit on CNN, so who knows, right? But I just threw it out there, and Facebook never pulled it down. No fact-checking, none of that crap.
Yeah.
It's still up.
Yeah.
Hey, Pure Knight wants you to post the number, Rick. He says you're slacking.
Okay. A number for what? Let me just see it here.
He wants to call in.
Oh, right. You're right. I am slacking. I should have put the phone number on the screen. I apologize, everybody. There it is. 1-833-975-3733. 1-833-975-3733. Call now. Call often.
And Pure Knight, see, I ain't that bad. I got your back, asshole. Okay, so I'm reading the comments in there.
Okay.
He wants to call in. I want to hear what he has to say.
Okay.
Okay, guys, thanks. Have a good night. And by the way, perfect homeostasis in my garden after I put that organic fertilizer. We got all this rain coming. It looks so beautiful, Rick. And, you know, for people to say that the world's coming to an end, my plants will be the first ones to tell you that. And they're not telling me that. So, looks great.
Excellent.
Ciao, guys.
Okay, see ya. Okay, here's Chris. Hello, how are you tonight?
I'm good. How are you tonight?
I am well, thank you. What's going on out there?
You don't sound too well, though.
Well, worried a little bit about things, but just try and push it to the back.
Yeah, it seems to be taking its toll on you.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel it too. I feel some things are changing for sure. Yeah. People are changing, and I don't know. Like I ran into a really good friend of mine yesterday that I hadn't seen for quite a few years, and then we ended up texting last night. And I always thought he was on the right side, and he's definitely on the left side. And then we ended up spatting, and it's like, you know, I just said good night. It's like, wow, you think that they're on one side, and then you find out that they're actually on the other side, and then you don't know what to say anymore because now you're the bad person, and it's just the division is just insane.
Yeah, politics is a strange thing because when you have a particular issue, like say the government response to the pandemic and mandates that can galvanize and bring people together, and they get focused
Right.
on that one issue, but then over time, the other political differences between people begin to emerge. And, you're seeing that even within, say, political parties like the PPC,
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
party demographic has changed over time. And as the focus of the main issues shifts and changes, and the pandemic becomes just one of the issues and other ones emerge, you start to get more infighting, and because it becomes complicated.
Yeah.
But that's the nature of it.
It does. And, he was even on about our premier, Danielle Smith, about how she thinks she's so entitled and she thinks she's above the law. And I went, well, I don't know where you think she's above the law, but yeah, she did apologize, I guess, for talking to that Pulaski on the phone, because I guess Rachel Notley is trying to go after her with the police or something. I'm not really following it too much, but all I said was, and you don't think Trudeau gets away with everything? But that's
Are they
okay
still
for him
trying to
to
make
get
an
away with
issue? Are
it?
they still trying to make an issue out of that phone call? I thought
Yeah,
that
Notley is sent a letter to the RCMP. She wants Notley, Danielle to be investigated or something again, and maybe charges brought to her.
that nothing will come of that. That's just a bunch of political crap.
No,
Because I
of
listened to
course
that,
it is.
and Danielle Smith didn't say anything wrong, really.
No. And you know what? And the courts are going to deal with that Arthur Pulaski anyways. I mean, what happens, whatever happens, happens, right? The same as the Coots boys. Obviously, I have to watch what I say about that. I mean, I feel bad that they've still been in there all this time, but there's a reason they're not letting him out on bail. And nobody's talking about that. They're all, let's feel sorry for the one. What's the real reason that they're not being let out on bail?
Yeah, there's a reason.
There must be something that.
There's a reason.
Of course there is. And when you have all these freedom fighters at the court every day, and then when their trials are on and they're all causing this trouble, that could be one of the reasons we're not letting you out, because look at the trouble that's standing out there.
Yeah.
Right? Like, think about it.
It's true.
But anyways, enough of that. My heart does go to those 5 gentlemen that went down in that sub. That was really tragic.
Yes.
I did have a bad feeling though about that from the start, even when they reported them missing.
Mm-hmm.
And then when you hear about, how it was made and all this kind of stuff, I mean, I don't know about you. I sure as heck wouldn't get in a sub that's bolted from the outside.
That's kind of weird. I don't see why they needed to do it that way. You'd think that they would be able to secure it from the inside in a way that they could open it. And
you think, especially if they had come up to the surface, they still wouldn't have been able to get out.
Right. Crazy.
It doesn't, but these, like you said, these people that have all this kind of money, they want to go to the moon, they want to go down the ocean, they want to play these dangerous games, and sadly, it is dangerous. I mean, how are they going to retrieve these bodies? I mean, that's even if, I hate to say it, if they're intact, right? Like, it's they're not. It's tragic.
They're gone.
And I feel sorry for those guys, and
to be quite blunt, they're crushed. There is.
Well, that's what I'm kind of figuring.
6,000 pounds per square inch. There's nothing to recover, folks.
No.
There's
and I think it actually went on. I think on Sunday on its way down is when that happened. That's why they lost contact. Probably when they lost contact, that's when it happened, right?
Yeah.
But I mean, personally, I always joke and say it's the Titanic curse. Well, I was listening to a gentleman that made movies. I can't think of his name now. He did movies on the Titanic, and even he said the history and everything that he's done, he's going, a lot of souls were lost, and they just need to leave it alone. Like, maybe now they'll leave it alone. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just, when do you stop? Like, leave it. To me, it's just a big graveyard. Just leave it alone.
Yeah. I
Let's
understand.
have some respect for it. And I feel sorry for those guys that lost their lives in that helicopter this week too. And other than that, other than that, life.
Yeah, see, I'm not sure that
quiet out here.
I see. Human beings are so strange. I don't know why the Titanic, like a grave site like that, should be considered a tourist attraction. It's in the same way. Have you seen the? I didn't go because I wouldn't partake in it. But if you go to Vegas, I think it's there on a regular basis. It's the human body exhibit. Like they actually have human bodies on display.
Ugh.
And they, but you pay to get in Las Vegas, the entertainment capital of the world, and these are human bodies, and it's supposed to be about the scientific. No, man, it's like it's a novelty, and you're charging people to titillate them with these cadavers. I don't agree with that at all.
I know. Like, I don't even think when they went down the Titanic, I heard that there's a museum somewhere, and I don't know if it's in Halifax, but there is artifacts that they had brought up from the Titanic. Okay, you brought it up, they're on display. Now let them rest in peace down there, and let those other gentlemen now rest in peace that are down there. And maybe they should stop playing these games and these dangerous, expensive games. Like, think about the money they paid to go on that. What was it? $500,000?
No, $250,000 a piece.
Yeah, that's a lot. That's a lot. And then that 19-year-old boy, that's really tragic too. And
I mean, to me, like, people want to pay huge sums of money, and they have the money, and they want to get on a rocket ship with Jeff Bezos and blast off into others. Go ahead, man, if you want. I don't really care.
Yeah.
If it blows up, then that's your choice. It's a risk you decide to take. If you want to go get on some guy's makeshift submarine and go look at fish or whatever, like, go ahead. I'm all about freedom. You go right ahead. But to some degree, you have to also keep people in check with some level of regulation, I guess, to prevent people from being ripped off or abused or killed because some guy's just greedy. I mean, when I look at what they were doing with that little mini submersible, 5 people jammed into that thing, no seats. It's just basically a tube. Very, and 250,000. To me, you know what that smacks of? Greed.
Yeah, of course. Of course. It's just, I don't know. It's really tragic. And I did want to touch real quick, and then I'll let you go. You're talking about that Freedom Convoy that's coming up. As you know, I've told you some things that are happening out here. But one thing I am noticing now is there seems to be more and more flags all of a sudden appearing on people's vehicles. For a long time, they disappeared. But now I'm noticing in this town, there's more and more flags going up on vehicles. So kind of got to wonder what. And I did hear something around the end of August. So I guess we'll just have to wait and see what happens, I guess. And for that guy that's in Ottawa, that guy in Ottawa, he's a troublemaker. Like, he's provoking the police every single day. Why do you have to be there every single day? What purpose are you doing except causing trouble and making yourself look bad?
Yeah, you're talking about Chris Pacey from DC Media. Is that who you're referring to?
Yeah, I don't have much use for that guy, because every time you watch his videos, it's always the same police seem to be there. He's always yelling and screaming on, they're stealing this and they're stealing that. And you're there every single day. Why?
Yeah,
what is it getting you? I've going to get arrested.
He's been on this show. I like Chris. I think that he has done some good things, but I honestly, as a media guy, I would never behave that way. I would never talk to police that way. Because it's provocative, he's not, in my estimation at this point, practicing journalism. He's an activist, and he's wearing the Save Canada hat. He's endorsing the movement. He is not impartial at all. It's and you can support him and his cause if you want to. There's nothing wrong with supporting a political cause, but in my view, that is not journalism. That is activism. You're quite right. It is provocative, and I'm not defending always what the police do either. I'm just saying that for me, it crosses a line. As a journalist, I would not behave that way.
No. And like you said, it makes the others look bad. You know what I'm saying? Like the freedom movement wants to appear to be good, but then you get someone that's doing this constantly, and then people are going, well, and we're going to support these other guys. Like, look what they're doing, right? So I don't know, but that's just my say for tonight. I'll let you get on to your next caller.
Thank you.
All right, we'll talk to you later, Rick.
You betcha.
Okay. Have a good night.
All right, see you.
Bye.
All right, who do we have up next? It's a Dragon. Hello, welcome back, sir.
Oh, well, you got yourself a good whole dragon, my friend. How are you tonight, Maverick?
I'm okay. Are you going to breathe some fire for us tonight?
I hope so.
I just came up with that off the top of my head.
Actually.
Well, go ahead, Dragon.
Yeah, well,
the floor
you know
is
what?
yours.
We should do that every now and then. I'm going to breathe fire for you on the camera. Yep, that's going to be a good thing.
Yeah, that'll engage people.
I'm thinking about probably, I've made myself a friend around the town hall working as a blue collar, and I would probably ask him a few questions because he might have some crunchy stuff for us as what's going on in Montreal behind the scenes, politically speaking.
I see.
And in a civil way. So, yeah, let's see about that. And you know what? Because it's Friday, and I would ask you a permission for one FU, please.
Well, I think you've earned the privilege, sir. Go ahead.
Well, FU Lindsey Graham for putting us into a target, and actually not only a target, he just declared world war, I think. This is what I believe. Seriously, this guy is nuts. So...
Yes, and in this case, I think your FU is entirely appropriate, sir. And so thank you for that.
Thank you. So this is probably the other thing coming for me tomorrow. It's Jean-Baptiste. So I was thinking probably have a stroll around in Montreal if I'm able to, and probably get some footage of some good parties coming. How you would like that?
That would be fantastic. That would be outstanding.
Yeah, because in a way, there's too much bullshit going on. So, I mean, look, we need some positive. We need some good vibes. So, seeing some Quebecers on the party would be probably something that Canadian likes. So
that sounds great, Dragon. Fantastic.
Well, that's probably what I had to say today.
Okay.
So I will let you go to your next caller.
All
and
right.
As always, thanks for letting me rent my stuff on your platform, my friend.
Great call.
Have a good one, guys.
All right. See ya. And
Cool.
Here's Sandy up next. Hello, Sandy.
Hi, Rick. How are you?
I'm well. How are you?
I'm pissed off.
Well, you just go ahead and vent.
Well, I'm not going to vent, but I'm going to try my best and behave.
Okay.
So I've been learning a lot about the word bullshit, like the dragon and your past couple of callers. And I'm going to say this. I got to speak because every morning or every day I get up and all I get is negative internet.
Yeah.
So the Titanic Why now? Why all of a sudden now are they bringing it back up? It's bullshit. Do we really care? I don't care. The submarine thing again, I saw this twice on Google. Like, keep Googling it. There's, like, I do use Google for information. Like, I don't have to read it, or I just go on it for the sake of going on it because I'm either bored or I'm just checking in what's going on. And it's bullshit.
Mm-hmm. Well, what do you mean by that? Like, what do you mean by, like, it's true?
Every week it's either Biden tripping over something, or he's falling again, or somebody's coming out with more negative bullshit. You know what's going to happen eventually? We're all going to lose the internet, and they're just going to pull it and say, I don't want to say the F word, and they're just going to pull it and say, we're done. We're done. And all this crap going in the Ukraine and Russia and with Trump and with Biden, they're all coming together, and eventually it's going to be anarchy, and they're going to push the goddamn button. And we're in trouble.
Well,
when I get up in the morning, I do not hear of anything, any talks about peace. I do watch Africa. I tend to watch, and I'm pretty up to date on everything going on over there. You should see what's going on over there.
Mm-hmm. Well,
I don't get it. I don't understand it. Peace is hard. War is easy. And I say it all the time. Peace is hard. War is easy. It's true.
it is true.
It is true.
Yeah.
And all this, we have the oldest president right now in the United States who is confused, doesn't know whether he's coming or going. I wonder if he even knows what his name is. Because, like, when I watch this man, I'm sick. I want to throw up. When I see this man doing what he's doing now and all this crap coming out about him, okay,
Yep.
it really appalls me. It appalls me how this type of behavior goes on in this world today.
Yeah.
It's really, it makes me saddened. It makes me concerned. And when I'm concerned, I go anarchy. And every day I've been telling myself, blow it the F up. Blow it up. Push the button and end it. Because we get this drag queen story time telling crap. I hear what kids are learning in school, and I do have a nephew, and I'm going to ask him what he's learning in school, and I better not hear what he's telling me, because if I hear what he's telling me, I'm saying something.
Okay.
It's too negative.
Well, Sandy, you know, as bad as things are, we still have to live and
Is
survive.
it that bad?
So
Is it really that bad?
So, you know, to keep perspective, what I do is I, at least at some point during every day, I just turn it off for just a while, even if it's for an hour.
That's what I do.
Yeah, you gotta.
I
clear your head.
leave my phone at home just to go walk and do an errand and come back and enjoy the weather, enjoy the nice weather. You know what? We need to learn to be fortunate and be fortunate of who loves us and what we have. Yeah. Because if we don't, it's already too late.
Exactly. But listen,
it's already too late.
Yeah, the clock is ticking, and I got to get to the next caller.
I'll let you go to your next caller. It's okay, no worries.
Okay, thank you for calling. It's always a pleasure to speak with you.
Thanks.
Okay.
You too. Thanks.
Bye.
Be safe. You too.
Okay,
bye.
Okay, go ahead. Who is this? Pure Night? Is it the man?
Yeah, it's me, dude.
How's it going, man?
Well, I'm off the mountain. I'm back in the clown town. Holy crap, man! This is just, I should have stayed up on the mountain, man. Nope. I shouldn't have came back.
Yeah. Well.
Oh. What the hell is going on, Rick? Do you have any idea, or like, are we just all like hoping for the best? Is this what's going on right now, or?
It's hard for me to get a bead on it, to be honest with you. Because
well, I have a little bit of information. I have friends in Russia, and they're telling me things that are completely opposite of what we're being told, and I kind of understand that because I've been there twice, and you know, there's live cams. Like if you want to Google it, there's live cams in Russia and in Moscow and St. Petersburg.
Yeah.
It's everyday normal life for them.
Well, I'm sure that it is. I don't doubt that at all.
Yep.
At this point.
Yep. Nothing's happening. Nope. Normal everyday life for them. You know. Then you look at the live cam. Well, the live cam was taken offline, I think, like 4 days ago. But it was in Kiev. And if Kiev has an amazing nightlife. Did you know that? This country's at war, but their nightlife is like popping.
Yep. I was aware of that.
Amazing, eh?
Yeah.
Yeah. Friggin' amazing, isn't it? Their nightclubs are full. Everybody's driving brand new supercars. It's amazing. Kiev is an amazing place. Oh, but they're in war. Interesting. Yeah, weird.
It is weird.
Yeah.
Kind of.
Well, you know what? All this propaganda they throw at us is a whole bunch of crap, dude. It's all bullshit, man.
So you don't think the war is as serious as they're letting on? Or that we're hearing?
No, it's not. No, are you kidding me? Ukraine is on their friggin' knees. They have a used car salesman begging, pleading for money. It's not for the war. It's just to fill his pockets. Come on, think. We've been down this road through history before with other dictator idiots. Oh, if I can throw money out the... No. That's how governments wash their money so they fill their pockets. See? It's a whole... If you have any idea about business, okay, and how to make money disappear, this is how you do it. You throw money into something that doesn't exist. Then you shell company it off here, there, everywhere. And then eventually it comes back to your pocket, right? Called washed money. Come on, man. We all know what the game is. For Christ, Jesus, the Mexican cartels have Stinger missiles on their backs now. Where'd they come from? Ukraine. Come on. The dude's selling African dictators. All of a sudden, they have a whole bunch of new artillery. Where'd that come from? Ukraine. Come on. Like, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out that this guy's a scam artist.
No question that has been a major element of the whole thing over there. And we've talked about that. And, you can go on the dark web and buy a lot of these weapons, So
I don't need to go on the dark web, but I don't need to go on the dark web, but I do go on the dark web, and I do find out a lot of interesting information from a lot of people in certain places. And this whole thing's a scam. I knew it from the get-go. I was like, Ukraine gonna fight Russia? Are you kidding me? That's like a midget trying to fight like a 6'5" guy. Like, it's not gonna happen.
Well, I hope you're right. I hope that it's not as serious as it appears to be to me. But I think you're right about everything. But I think it's also very serious.
No, hang on a second.
Yeah.
If you think it's actually serious, I'm gonna mute this because I was in a different part of the house. If you actually think this is serious, do you not think Putin would have actually pulled out anything new from his artillery? He hasn't even showed you the new toys he has. Have you seen the new Su-57? That thing's scary as hell, man. There's nothing on the planet that can chase that plane. That plane can go supersonic. Did you know that?
Supersonic or hypersonic?
Okay.
Supersonic is past the speed of sound. And we have jets already that will go, I don't know how many Machs, but
you know what I'm talking about. This thing is fast as hell.
Okay.
You've seen it, right? The Su-57?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a scary beast. And nothing in the world can touch that thing. Not even that new thing that Europe and all the other countries are trying to make. What is that weird thing they're trying to buy?
So the J-10 is supposed to be the world's fastest fighter jet with a top speed of 1,445 miles per hour. The Su-57 has a top speed of 1,327 miles per hour. The MiG-21, 1351, F-16, 1353.
The MiG was top of the line back in the day. What? The MiG was top of the line back in the day, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
And now they have something even better than that? Like, really? And Lockheed Martin is trying to, is it Lockheed Martin? Oh, it's one of those aerospace companies. They're trying to get everybody to buy that, what is that F-35 Raptor or whatever the hell it is?
Yeah.
Yeah. Nah. The Su-57 will destroy that thing. That thing can stop on a dime in air, man. Like, full brakes. That thing's amazing. I couldn't believe it. I was like, holy crap. Putin hasn't pulled out any of his toys yet. He's just playing with his old toys, just throwing it at it.
The F-22 Raptor has a top speed of 2,414 kilometers per hour. What is that in miles per hour?
That's great. But maneuverability. That's what you want in a jet fighter. Maneuverability. That thing can stop like on a dime. The ones you're talking about, they have to do that big old wind around to stop and slow down. This jet doesn't. It can just like go straight up vertical and stop. It's the weirdest thing, man. I saw a video on it. I'll send it to you.
Sure.
This thing scared the hell out of me. I was like, holy crap, this thing can do that.
Yeah, well, I know the F-22 is supposed to be like that. That's the newest state-of-the-art fighter jet for the West, right? That's what Canada is going to be getting.
For the West, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we spent how many billions of dollars on these things?
Oh, my goodness, I can't remember, but they're extremely expensive to buy, extremely expensive to maintain. They're extremely sophisticated.
Yep.
And you know, the older generations of jets are supposed to be, you know, not even able to run with them
by
at
the
all.
time we get them, it's old technology.
True enough.
By the time they get to Canada, it's old technology. There's already another jet out there.
Yeah.
See how pathetic when children run a country? Because that's what Justin is. He's a child. He's a narcissistic sociopath with a big friggin' ego, and he doesn't understand how business works.
And he shows it by wearing funny socks. He's
he probably wears thongs that match. He probably wears thongs that match. You do realize that his wife isn't even with him anymore, right? You know that, right?
I am aware, yes. I am aware.
It's all for show. It's all for picture. Yeah. You know who she's banging, eh?
Well, she had an affair with that actor, what's his name? Isra.
The English guy, right? The black guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Isra.
Yeah, she bangs him all the time, dude. If you follow his Instagram, he codes that he bangs her all the time, man.
Idris Elba.
If you look between the words, yeah, it's him, Idris. Yeah. He bangs her all the time. And he codes out certain things on his Instagram when he bangs her. And you know that he's banging Sophie. If you're smart and you're intelligent and you read between the lines, you get it.
Well, thanks for being so subtle. My goodness.
Well,
oh,
I told you, I'm an abrasive man. I'm sorry. You don't like me? Oh, well.
No, I like you.
Me.
I like you.
Guess what?
I like
Show
you.
me.
I think you just may have just ruffled a few of the more sensitive feathers out there. Just with the
well,
words, but
sometimes
that's
the feathers need to be rustled in order for everything to go back to the way it's supposed to be, right?
Yeah, sure. Okay.
So, you know, like,
yeah, it's one of those things,
it's
you know,
just
like
the way.
I know, like it's been widely reported, but in kind of a subtle way. I haven't seen too many media outlets come right out and just say Sophie and Idris Elba are getting it on, like they, but they refer to.
Well, they're
right?
not going to say that.
But
okay,
it's
it's not like the RCMP and the news media went out. Oh my God, where is Pierre Elliott Trudeau's wife? Well, they had to go across the world to find her because she was banging the Rolling Stones. Like, come on, man. Like,
well, that was Pierre's wife.
Ah, no, that is truth. It's not hearsay. That is 100% truth.
Yeah, that is. It's true. She was. She was traveling with them and everything.
So
yep.
Justin comes by corruption by genealogy because his dad was corrupt. Well, I don't even know if it. Now, I'm kind of thinking it's Castro. He was corrupt too, but you know, he's got that genealogy. You know what I mean? And his mom was a whore, so you can't really trust the guy.
Okay. Oh my goodness. Okay, sir. I think with that being said, we're gonna wrap her up. Thank you for the call.
I know you hate me calling. You hate me.
I don't hate you
I know.
calling. I just I'm trying to put on a respectable broadcast here, and then you call in and it just kind of, well, it's just a little more on the
Hey, you're not the Titanic.
Anyway. Thank you.
I love this shirt, by the way.
Oh,
nice embroidery.
Yeah.
Excellent job.
Well, you're gonna have to get you hooked up when you pass through here. So
you're definitely gonna have to play some golf with me when I pass through. I got some golf balls for you.
I look forward to it.
All right, buddy. You take care of yourself. Be safe. All right.
Okay, man. See ya. Take care. And there we go. So with that, we will wrap it up for the evening. That gets us to 8:30. Still a little bit of sunlight out there, so I'm going to take advantage of that tonight. I'm going to take my dog for his evening walk. While there's still a little bit of sun out, I will watch the sunset this evening and try to calm my mind while I clear it out of all this negative clutter that Sandy made reference to. This will be my opportunity to just kind of shut it off, even if for only a half an hour or so, as I reset and get ready to regroup for tomorrow. And I will be back with more here on the Maverick News Channel at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on the flip side. Thank you, everybody, for hanging in there and spending your time with us here tonight. I'll see you tomorrow.
This has been a Maverick Multimedia production.